Hello, everybody. I'm Ivan Nokhrin, founder of WiredHut, an independent digital-first real estate consultancy. Today, I'm going to talk about a very practical thing, how to build your own digital-first real estate platform. So before we start, let's get into some definitions. Digital-first real estate is an approach to real estate asset management when it is organized with the help of computer-aided property and investment management solutions, automated scoring, forecasting and calculations, and digitized performance indicators output. Wow, that was a mouthful. Another definition, and then we'll go to the fun part. Digital real estate passport. It's an ontology model for stable identification and risk assessment of real estate assets. It can be used for ESG scoring and automatic assessment of performance, which means real-time position and risk data of real estate-backed investment instruments. I hate to read the slides, so I promise not to do that anymore. So normally, when you begin to build a platform, you start thinking about integration. So let's talk about what integration is and isn't. What we call integration is linking applications together so they can exchange data and or functionality very effectively with each other. And what integration isn't is simply using a remote desktop or another means of providing user access to individual silos, such as asset management system or CRM system or DMS, and so on. What we want to do is to integrate apps and make them effectively exchange data with each other. What we need to build in order for us to have this effective data exchange is a data integration platform. We need to link applications together. We need to make sure that they can stream the data among each other, and that we can harmonize the data streams that we create between the applications, and then we analyze these data streams as a result. So first, how do we link the apps together? We use something that we call API. It stands for application programming interface. And unlike the connector, I mean, a lot of people compare it with connectors, and it is a good analogy. But it's important to understand that API is not the connector itself, but it is the ability of an application to have connectors. And so another way to describe it is by comparison with the user interface. When a user interacts with software, API is an application programming interface, and it's the way that software communicates with another software. When we talk about API-based connectors relating to the data integration platform that we want to build, these are the things that help us connect individual applications with each other. We have some modern tools nowadays in the market that already have Open API in their core architecture, so those are easy to connect. Some of the older legacy systems can be connected through an API layer. Some of these layers can be provided by big giants like Microsoft. Some layers can be built by integration companies or systems integrators. It's no big deal nowadays. Once we've got the link set up, we are ready to stream the data. So let's see what this means. When we connect applications with each other, we usually mean that they need to communicate. And the means for applications to communicate with each other through the platform is through what we will call data pipelines. These can be imagined as literal pipelines running from individual applications to the platform. And these pipelines are enabled through the API connectors. So once the pipelines are set, we can stream the data through these pipelines. And then the question is, what is inside these pipelines? Because once we connect applications with each other they are ready to exchange data, and data becomes available when we need it, we still need to make sense of all of this data that goes into the funnel. So we need to clean it, and we need to harmonize it to a certain extent. So that is a bit more complicated issue that has been a problem in our field for quite some time because of the lack of common standards and the lack of really best practices. So what we want to introduce here is the concept of digital real estate passport, which is, in other words, asset-centric data exchange. What we mean by this is that we want the applications that we connect through these data pipelines to be able to exchange information that is meaningful to us in relation to real estate assets in question. And in order for us to enable this digital real estate passport, besides setting up data pipelines, we need two other things. One is stable asset ID, and second is ontology model. Let's dive into it and see what it means. A stable asset ID is a tool which enables the machine to identify the asset, to be able to answer a question: what are we talking about? What is this asset? And here we bring together three data, well, I would dare say three data types. I hope developers will forgive me for saying that. First data type is IDs. Every system has a record that it stores relating to a real estate asset, and that record has an identification, a primary key by which we know that a certain data field or a certain data point belongs to an asset. So we collect all the IDs and all the applications that are linked together in this field. Geospatial data helps us identify the location of the asset on the face of the earth, its shape and size, and other parameters that relate to the location, such as address and plus code and whatnot. Attributes is the third field of data points that belongs to real estate asset ID, and these are voluntary attributes that help us identify the asset from our human readable perspective, which means that we can supply a name to an asset, a segment, office, retail, residential, whatnot, and we can also supply additional things like class or category or type, and so on. So stable ID is a tool set bringing together all of these individual identities, geolocation, and additional parameters that help us stably identify the asset. And the third component of the digital real estate passport is an ontology model, which is a conceptual level model that brings together information in accordance with the node theory, organized by this big conceptual nodes, such as land or equipment or building, that help us answer questions about where the property is located in more detail, yeah, and who visits the property, who uses the property, who manages the property, and what kind of equipment is installed, what kind of components does it have, what was the material that it was built with, how does it make money, how was it managed, what has been the historic cash flow, all of these questions, including information about what kind of digital systems are installed within the assets that can help us build a digital twin, a literal digital twin of such a real estate asset. And such a conceptual model is used in the digital real estate passport concept in order for us to to be able to bring individual data models together around this conceptual model and fill the data from all these direction from all these nodes. Once we have all the three components in place, we are ready to set up a digital real estate passport service that will help identify assets and enrich data with data sets from individual applications. How it works in reality can be visualized in this manner. So if we have two applications that are connected to the platform through these data pipes, and let's say there are individual data points flowing through these pipes, such as rental rates, OPEX rates, tenant IDs, and so on and so forth. Each data point can be, let's say, colored according to which asset it belongs to. And so asset identification is the first filter in the funnel when we need to ask the platform to bring us data from these individual applications, and we want this data to be structured in a certain way, like we see in the output field here. We ask the platform to collect only certain types, certain data points, understand which assets they belong to, match it with the ontology model so that we can have a JSON file as our output and prepare this data set that is finally returned as a response to our request that we make to the platform. So that's the answer about how we harmonize data sets. And then once we've got all these three components ready, we can start analyzing data streams. What this means is that we can put a data screen in between of a data stream, and then try to fish out all the necessary information that we need for meaningful interpretation of the data that goes through. And so we finally can answer the big question, how we switch from spreadsheets to data-centric insights in the real estate industry. And that all of these four components brought together is what we call data integration platform. When you think about what is it meant for, what's the use of this platform, I'll give you 3 reasons why you want to build a digital first real estate platform in your company. First is you want to be vendor agnostic, and you don't want a vendor lock. You want to avoid somebody selling you expensive dashboards. You want to be in control of your data, you want to own your data, and you want this data to be presented in accordance with your business needs. And with the increasingly multiplying number of PropTech startups in our field, it's becoming increasingly difficult to avoid this vendor lock. So having a digital first real estate platform at hand helps you build tailored front end with tools like a Kibana dashboard, for example, and avoid this vendor lock going forward. You can adjust the data model, you can adjust the functionality that you bring through this front end, and keep control over it. Second, and probably most important question today, because it's been on the air for quite some time, is automated ESG scoring for your real estate portfolios. Because digital real estate passport is a concept that can be, in other words, called a DNA of your property business. Because once you've got all this data streaming and the ability to analyze these data streams, you basically got enough data sets to make sense of them for the purpose of ESG scoring. And you don't have to wait until we have a general standard or ISO 19650 or global taxonomy and so on. You can already now start building your own interpretation of data sets that you own and that you have sitting in silos in individual applications, and you can come up with your own ESG interpretation in order to report to your investors and not be depending on a third party to do that. You can adjust it later. That's the beauty of having such a tool set at hand. And the third, which is probably the most long-lasting effect of building this platform, is the enhancement of your asset performance. Because when we talk about the tool set and let's say the landscape of the applications that we want to bring together around this platform, we usually talk about applications that are used by professional asset managers and investment companies to extract shareholders' value from the performing real estate asset. And so the traditional investment strategies that are usually that usually can be defined as a core plus, value add, and opportunistic, depending on the amount of risk that the investor takes when they invest in certain properties or portfolios. We can increase the potential performance of such portfolios or individual properties with this technology upside, because you get a much more transparent and much more real-time access to the essential data that helps you make decisions. How to start implementing such a platform is an important question, because we usually talk about digital transformation process that takes a lot of basically it takes a huge effort to change mindset, because that's common sense already, that in order to change, you need to change your mindset first of all. But what's important in getting the winning strategy in order to achieve what I showed earlier is you need to set a goal. You need to set a goal to build this data integration platform first of all. You need to prioritize API first architecture. So you need to tell your IT guys that only accept new solutions that have an API strategy, and always ask this question. And somebody who doesn't have an API strategy, they're not the right fit for the future-proof business model. Third, you need to enable asset-centric data exchange in order for you to be, first of all, affirmative about the data sets that you have internally, and also be able to exchange this data for the benefit of the whole market with external players. And fourth, once you've got the data stream set up, you can open your APIs. And I encourage you to read more about open banking and open API initiatives. If you're not in that space, you will find out a lot interesting information about what open API is and how APIs being let's say being a definition for building an IT architecture, have transformed into these individual building blocks on which new applications can be created. And when applied to real estate, it means a lot. It means that finally real estate companies can answer the question, how do they keep ownership of the data, how they keep compliant with the GDPR requirements, but at the same time they can start to open up their data and exchange it effectively with other market players, and as a result increase liquidity, transparency, and achieve all the necessary qualifications to be compliant with the upcoming ESG requirements. Our slogan, I think, is very timely today as never before. Change before you have to. I think in some areas it might seem that it's too late, but let me assure you that it's never too late to change, and we do encourage you to take a closer look at what we've been discussing, and you can reach out to us at our website, wiredhat.com, and we can talk. Thank you very much for your attention. It's been a pleasure to be here. I'm ready to answer any questions that you might have in direct chats later on.